Well, it's all fun and games until you poke an eye out. That's how the old saying goes. And believe it or not, it's true. Medical experts estimate more than 2.5 million people will injure their eyes this year, and over half of those injuries will occur in or around the home. Brent Deerking is here from NorthStar EMS to tell us more. Brent, good to see you again.
How are you, Danny? It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir, I am good. Thank you for being with us. Why is it so important to talk about eye injuries?
Well, you know, let me start by saying first, August is National Eye Injury Prevention Month.
There we go.
So, you know, as part of our injury and illness prevention strategies, we wanted to take a few minutes to talk about something we take for granted so often, and that's our eyesight. And you know, what's even more interesting is that you said in the opening, almost 50% of all injuries to the eye occur in and or around the house. And to take that a step further, 90% of those injuries could be avoided if people would do one simple thing.
And what's that?
That is to wear eye safety protection.
There we go.
And there's different types here. I brought two examples. You know, for someone like me who doesn't wear eyeglasses, these goggles or safety glasses are designed to have some material that goes essentially behind the lens and on the side of the lenses, so that it prevents objects from getting in.
Right. Now we're safe.
Your eye. Absolutely. Now we're safe. The ones that you're wearing are specifically made for people who wear eyeglasses.
There we go. And most of the time people think of goggles and things like this when you're at a construction site or maybe going to some kind of mill or factory or foundry, or even in science class where you're doing experiments. But like you said, 50% of these injuries occur in and around the home. So that leads me to believe that people aren't doing really outrageous things like mixing chemicals at home when these sorts of things happen, right?
Well, that's true. You know, most of the eye injuries that we see are more of a debris-related injury. And, you know, those are things that can be avoided. For instance, like if you're mowing your grass, you know, make sure that you got the rocks picked up out of the yard and debris picked up out of the yard. Or if you're using the weed eater to trim, you know, you fling dirt up by the wire or the nylon string, you know, flicking or chopping the grass. So that might flick something up into your eye. So, you know, just by covering your eye will take care of the majority of the problem.
Now, if you end up getting an eye injury, say you're out there cutting the grass and you don't want to wear the goggles because you're hot and sweaty and all that sort of stuff, and you do get something in there, what do you need to do? Yeah,
that's a great question. You know, typically in EMS, there's about 3 types of injuries we see. The first one is more of an ultraviolet or a UV injury where someone, for instance, has been welding a piece of metal and it's the arc that burns the eye. And then secondary to that are chemical injuries to the eyes, where somebody's working with Clorox or some other chemicals in the house and they didn't have the protection on, therefore it splashes into their eye. So the best treatment for those types of injuries is to flush the eye out immediately with water. We say copious amounts of water. So keep it going, you know, not just a little bit and stop. Really flush that eye out. The second most common type of injury we see is the debris-related, where you get specks in the eyes or dust flies up in the eye or probably granules or rocks if you're out mowing the lawn. And in these particular cases, you know, the natural tendency is for someone to take their palm of their hand and go up to their eyeball and start rubbing. Well, you don't want to do that because if you got something in your eye, it's going to damage the cornea. So in those cases as well, we want to try to flush those objects or specks out if at all possible. But if you don't feel like you're getting any relief, then it's suggested that you cover both eyes. And the reason you cover both eyes is because if you just cover one and the other eye is still able to see, when that eye moves, the other eye moves as well. So this is called bilateral movement.
There you go.
So you don't want to take any risk in damaging that eye if something's in there. And the third and last common type of injury we see are traumatic injuries, where someone has been hit in the face and perchance in the eyeball, or you've cut your eye pretty severely, or even penetrating trauma to the eye. And in those cases, you want to cover those eyes, stabilize any protruding objects, and certainly make sure you've got 911 dialed and EMS on the way quickly.
All right, super. Brent, thank you so much for being with us today.
Right. Thank you, Danny.
You can find out more about NorthStar EMS online at northstar-ems.com or by calling 205-345-0911.